Hi, my name is Trent Reyes, and I'm from Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I'd like to tell you basically about a movie that my wife and I saw this past weekend. The movie is called 90 Minutes in Heaven, a very great movie. Let me basically just tell you what the storyline is. There's a pastor by the name of Don Piper in the late 1980s as a pastor of a small church in Texas. He's a, he's a father of three children and has a wonderful wife. And this one particular day, he's at a meeting far from home, and he's returning back to his wife and family. He leaves the motel and he's driving back home in a heavy rainstorm, and he gets involved in a horrific accident with an 18-wheeler. It's a devastating accident, and he's injured horribly. When the first responders first get there, they pronounce him dead at the scene. They look at the wreckage and they check his pulse, and they declare him dead. They cover up the car and they start doing the accident procedures. Well, a passing pastor stops by and asks the police officer if he could say a prayer for the driver of the horrific car wreck. The police officer informs the pastor, says, "No, don't worry, he's dead, not to worry about it." But the pastor insists that he still wants to say a prayer for the victim of that accident. So the police officer says, "Yeah, go ahead." So the pastor works his way into the car. He can't touch him, but he can see him. So he starts praying for Don Piper. This is 90 minutes after the accident. He's been dead for 90 minutes. So during the prayer, at the end of his prayer, the pastor starts singing a song. And lo and behold, Don Piper starts singing with the pastor. The pastor is astonished. And he quickly goes and tells the first responders, the ambulance drivers, and the police that, hey, the driver is alive. They can't believe it. They say, no, we pronounced him dead, 90 minutes ago. But one of the medics goes in there, checks his pulse, and he does have a pulse. So they go ahead and take emergency procedures. They get the jaws of life, get him out of the wreck, take him by ambulance to a hospital. But they don't give him much hope for living because he's in terrible shape. So what he decides to do is he's in terrible pain. And to make a long story short, he spends almost 4 months in various hospitals in terrible pain trying to recover from his accident. His family, his wife, his kids, his parents, and his in-laws are very concerned over him, and they come and pray for Don. In fact, a substitute minister gets a lot of people in the congregation to pray for Don and help him recover from his terrific injuries. And so it's a very slow process. He's in a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. But he does recover. And at the end, he tells his best friend that he really didn't want to tell anybody. But at the moment of impact, when he died in that car wreck, he went to heaven. And he was in heaven for 90 minutes when they brought him back to earth. And this 4 months that he was in the hospital, he was torn between coming back to earth and living with his family or going back to heaven, where he was very happy for those 90 minutes. But to see the whole story and see how Don copes with his pain and with his family, you need to see the movie, 90 Minutes in Heaven. One thing this movie does do is answer several questions that we've all had. We've asked ourselves all the time, why does God let terrible things happen to good people? Why does God let people suffer so terribly with pain, with loneliness, with depression? Why does God do that? Is there a God? Would a good, just God allow that to happen? These are questions we've all asked ourselves. as we see it every day, with good people suffering terrible consequences. A lot of times, not of their own doing, but they suffer. And we ask ourselves, why does God allow that to happen? Well, one thing this movie does, 90 Minutes in Heaven, I think it answers that question, that there is a just God. But to really find out for yourself, you need to see the movie. There's a lot of people that don't like the movie, but I think it's a very good movie. It's very informative. It's kind of gruesome in parts because it's very vivid in the accident scenes. And while in the hospital, Dawn recovering, it's kind of hard to see. But it's based on a true story that happened to this minister in Texas. And I highly recommend that you see this movie. If you get a chance to, watch the movie to the end. It's kind of slow in parts, but the end is well worth sitting for the whole movie. So get a chance, see the movie. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.